Hey guys, welcome to the Code of Ethics training, the NAR Code of Ethics training. We are on Article 2, and so just as a reminder, the National Association of Realtors has a Code of Ethics that we all have to abide by, whether we want to or not, whether we realize it or not. And there are 17 articles, and underneath each article, there are a certain amount of standard best practices. So Article 2 states realtors shall avoid exaggeration, misrepresentation, or concealment of pertinent facts relating to the property or the transaction. Realtors shall not, however, be obligated to discover latent defects in the property, to advise on matters outside the scope of their real estate license, or to disclose facts which are confidential under the scope of agency or non-agency relationships as defined by state law. So, in other words, um, we are not obligated to go search for pertinent defects to the property. So, we are not appraisers, we are not inspectors, we are not roofers. Um, all of that will come out in an inspection. And so basically, in layman's terms, it says stay in your lane. Okay. So, um, uh, standard of practice 2-1. Realtors shall only be obligated to discover and disclose adverse factors reasonably apparent to someone with expertise in those areas required by their real estate licensing authority. So, an example might be if you are on a listing appointment and you're touring the house with the seller. If you see a huge crack in a corner, or it's just blatantly obvious that something is wrong, that is something that you can point out. Okay, that may or may not be something you have to disclose on the seller's disclosure, depending on whether or not the seller is going to fix it. But that is what they mean in this standard of practice 2-1. Okay, Article 2 does not impose upon the realtor the obligation of expertise in other professional or technical disciplines. And that basically means that, again, we are not appraisers, we are not inspectors, we are not foundation repair people, we are not roofers, we are not electricians. So if a buyer or seller asks you their opinion, you might be able to generally comment based on your experience, but always follow up with the statement, I am not a licensed electrician or a foundation repair company. If you really want an expert opinion, you'll need to hire someone like that to provide that opinion to you. Okay, standards of practice 2-2 and 2-3 have been removed and included in Article 1. So Article 2-4, realtors shall not be parties to the naming of a false consideration in any document unless it be the naming of an obviously nominal consideration. So what is consideration? In our world, it is the price that is paid in exchange for the property, price that's paid for the home. Okay, so the best example I can come up with is the realtor cannot um, uh, tell someone that a house sold for something other than what it was actually sold for. Another example might be if you are the listing agent and you're closing out the home, you know what that home sold for. That is going to be recorded in the county clerk's office. You cannot put a lesser amount or greater amount in the MLS when closing out that transaction. Okay, so that is false consideration. That is a fabrication of what the consideration or price of the home actually was. And then lastly, standard practice 2-5, factors defined as non-material by law or regulation or which are expressly referenced in law or regulation as not being subject to disclosure are considered not pertinent for purposes of Article 2. So basically, if the law of your state says something different, then that's what you go by. All right, and that concludes the review of Article 2.